the other way around.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. So yeah, no, it's usually obviously the other way around. I think what, I mean, having a lot of the focus in early stage is like, it's so, it's almost like, how should I say, it's so competitive that you're almost like trying to be extremely useful to founders by figuring out what are the right applications for you know, the new research that's coming out in AI and deep learning. And so the more that I did that work, I kind of had my eyes wide open, knowing that it's, first of all, extremely hard down the founder path, and was pretty happy actually as an investor. But there was this new body of research coming out of like generative media. I think more controversially, it was kind of known as producing, you know, deep fakes. But on the creative end, there was actually a lot of potential for just like amplifying work, reducing the friction to content creation. And I was really passionate about that. And I knew that it was going to be, you know, it's going to get better. And there's going to be a lot of players here that maybe are like potentially directing it to negative use cases. And so I just kind of wanted to be in the front seat and create products that I was really passionate about. And there was no other chance that I could do that. So I wouldn't be able to forgive myself if I didn't jump in. So it was kind of a clarifying moment.
I got you. You are not tired of field work, so that you got the battle.
Yeah. It's like, exactly. It's like giving people money or building it yourself. And I realized I really wanted to build.
So Janett, I know that you have building a lot of products and by yourself. So that my next question is towards you. Could you like, because you come from another route. You are from the entrepreneur, then you build everything, then you exit out, then you start to do more helping or supporting work or financial advisor work towards other entrepreneur. And tell us more about your story.
Sure, I'll be concise. So I started at, prior to working at this Biopharma, we'll call it PE/holding company, chief of staff there. I started as an assistant at a textile circuitry company. So imagine circuits and fabric. And I went from assistant to CEO and one of under 40 women of color to ever raise more than $1 million in venture. But that was after pitching over 200 VCs over like a 4-year period. So having talked to, I like to joke around that I pitched every investor in these United States. You know, being through that process was certainly interesting. Developed a lot of technology there in the hardware space, have several patents. And then after I exited that company, I was brought on as a consultant for a few larger firms, both in the apparel side and on the technology side around product development, but also strategy. Spent some time building a cosmetics company for men, which was a fun thing with an investor that invested in my previous venture. And through that, I developed a reputation as a strategist that understands process and highly technical fields, even though I'm naturally not an expert in all of them. I was introduced to my CEO, who at that time, it was before we were funded, Cambrian, this Biopharma. I was employee number 1, and we went from no funding to 60 million in funding, and then assets under management. We have 15 assets under management, and set up all the operational backend and so on. So I think, you know, how did I go from what I like to say is playing around with fabric to overseeing side by side with the CEO of Biopharma portfolio? Life is weird, but I've always been very focused on process and people, and keeping that at the front has allowed for a lot of pivots, and just remembering that it's not just shareholders, it's stakeholders to make good deals. You know, you're always looking at both sides of the table. Come to an agreement. So that was a lot. Happy to answer more later.
So I just personally do have a question to you, just to follow up on your experience on the fundraising. I heard about a lot of like venture capital or private equity firm, they do have certain like unconscious bias towards women leader, especially when you are in the technology field. Maybe Lisha, you also have a say about it. You also have some experience on that. So as a woman and also as a minority women, sorry, for the one who just joined, could you mute yourself first? Thank you. Thank you for your cooperation. So back to the question, Janett. So how do you like mitigate all those kind of bias, or how do you like approach that in a different way? Maybe you can shift your disadvantages into your advantages.
Interesting. So that's a meaty question. I'll answer quickly out of respect for other people's time too. I don't think at this point in year old 2020, we can say that it's unconscious bias in the investment space. I would say it's maybe cognitive laziness in acknowledging the fact that bets all look alike and that there is a heightened diligence process or set of expectations for founders that don't meet the typical profile. So I think at this point, especially over the last 4 years, there's been a lot of literature on high performing people of color founders, women of color founders. The data is there that supports that with less capital, there are stronger results, but that just doesn't change. As much as investments in venture and private equity seems to be a data and results driven game, it's people at the center of all of this. And oftentimes what we're dealing with is a desire to match pattern. And when you see a founder who has a very unconventional background or looks very different than what you expect a hardware engineer to look like, it's a tough seat for the founder to be in, understanding that they're dealing with they're dealing with a really baked in instinct that is hard for people to unpack. So in my experience, knowing that, I just would drag people back to the facts over and over again. Hey, we're at your stage. We've met these milestones. This is the check. You checked off all the boxes. What can be preventing you at this point from an investment? And just really, I don't want to say nailing people to their own requirements, but I think as a founder, as emotional as their journey can be, you have to just hold steadfast to what you know your value is. And as often as you can, not be combative, but educational about that added weight. As an investor or as someone who oversees portfolio companies, you have to ask yourself if you're making bets on a pattern and not looking at every deal like it's a new deal.
Yeah.
It's always easy to invest in a Stanford engineer or whatever it may be, but to really just refresh yourself in the way that you can to combat that. But it's a challenge. Yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah, that is. I think that is a very good insight. And Micaela, I do have a question for you after this, because you are also your personal story is very interesting, because you were working as a digital product management and shift to the business development in Samarian Group. And how do you develop your skill set? Because these two roles, in my mind, allow me to say so, I feel it's quite different. And how do you combine those your skill and put into our role and grow?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that question. I think that the ability to pivot and understand what specific characteristics and skill sets that you have that can be added and changed for each role is extremely important. So for example, I had an internship at KPMG doing product engineering and product management. How I got that role, we will really never know. I applied for a business communications internship, landed in product engineering. That's absolutely fine, because with dedication and perseverance, I learned how to do 2 proof of concepts with natural language generation software in 2 months and secured my first job at KPMG. And so it was really a great experience. And I also learned that I really do have that analytical skill set in which I can look at software and understand, okay, what does a consumer really need? What does a client actually want? And be able to translate that information into a way that both product management, engineering, and operations can understand. And so beginning in that journey, I realized that my communication skills were really one of my best skill sets, and that I can explain things to a variety of different people coming from different cultures. And I decided I would like to be more face-to-face and not necessarily behind a computer as often. So I decided to pivot into a business development role. And thankfully, I had the opportunity to join the Samarian Group as their VP of Global Business Development, where I am in charge of communicating with investors daily, vetting companies, understanding how a team structure works. And kind of like what Janett was saying, you have to look at both the people and the process. It's not just about, oh, okay, what's the pattern and, what looks good on a term sheet. So I think that all of that together really led me to where I am today. And I think the ability to pivot and utilize your skill set is very important.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I remember our last conversation, you mentioned that networking is super important in the investment industry. And you can you just share with us and all the students about how you approach those network and how you maintain those relationships?
Absolutely. I think networking is such a large term, and a lot of people think that it's easy or it's just saying, hey, how are you, to a bunch of people in a room. But I think that researching and understanding, let's say you are going into an event where you know XYZ person is going to be there, having some background knowledge. Did they just close a deal? Are they recently written up in any Polaroids? It doesn't really necessarily matter, but having some sort of a specific statement that you can say, hey, I actually know what's going on in your life, in your world, can really have that added benefit and really allow you to be ingrained in that person's mind when they are meeting new people. It's thinking, oh, okay, this person actually understands me and also cares. So that's, I think, is extremely important. And also, having confidence walking into a room, although it's very difficult, especially, as we are in finance, it can be a very difficult thing to walk in as a female. However, walking in with that sense of purpose and drive, I think, is extremely important when speaking with other people in the industry or not.
Yeah, I definitely reconcile the drive and your emotion get into the industry. When you talk to people, your energy, your passion could somehow like get them. But I think as a woman, we also have our like advantages, and also our panel today is about women in the deal table. And what do you think? And both of you, I will just addressing this question to both of you, like three of you. And what do you think are the most important traits as a woman in this industry? Or what do you think that we can leverage on the most?
So personally, I would like to take a step back because I think that, at least in my perspective, it's not necessarily whether we are a woman or any sort of gender. I think that what's really important is emotional intelligence and being able to read a situation, read someone, and really understand where it is that they are coming from so you can tailor your message accordingly. And in addition, I think really it's the sense of grit that I've seen a lot of my fellow females in both finance and in all different sectors within the world that have. I mean, having that sense of passion and perseverance towards a goal, a long-term goal that you really are working every day to get to. I think those are two things that are extremely important for, both, of course, females, but also anyone looking to really persevere and get through in this industry.
Yeah, I think that's a very good answer. And I saw Janett is like tilting her head. And what's your insights? What do you think about this question?
I agree a lot with what Micaela said, and I would say yes. And I also think, well, obviously, like men come as varied as women do. But in terms of having a balanced perspective, if you look at an all-male team, very much less from a point of view of, oh, it's all men and it should be all women. It's more of a, is there a diversity of voices that reflect the markets that you seek to serve? And if you're a smart investor, you want your bets and the problems that you're solving to answer or address everyone, right? If you really are looking to be effective, if all the voices at the table have a homogenous background, education level, you don't have the chorus of voices that are going to give you the most informed plans, the ability to pivot strategically. So beyond just, beyond the women intrinsically bring a set of values or energy that may not be found in men, that's an argument that people can have on the side. But looking at it objectively, the argument that I've made in the past is your team is unbalanced. So the solutions you build will be similarly unbalanced. Yeah. So understanding that, if I'm an investor, I don't want to have blind spots. And just a quick thing on networking, I think it's important to be sincere. I think it's important to be supportive. I think those two things go a really long way, and self-aware. Oftentimes folks want to network from a ladder climbing perspective. And even in investment, it's not about transactions. These are human beings that are trying to exchange value based off of trust. So if you ask yourself, am I reaching out to this person because I have a sincere interest in their life, their career, and to learn from them, and I can offer them something, whether that's my enthusiasm and excitement? Being sincere in all of your interactions is what's going to build a good network. So I just wanted to add that as well, to make sure we don't look at people in our network like transactions, because those are relationships.
I completely agree with that. I think also, yeah, I mean, like, both of your points on the networking side, I think as like an actionable maybe for this audience, like look at what your skill sets are that would be really valuable to offer other people and approach it from like, how can I be helpful to those people as a first step? Because it's a lot more of a long-term relationship development when you start from a place of offering and kind of building on like how you can your skill set can kind of build on this relationship, and you'll notice that you can get a lot more in return because there's trust there to begin with. It's not just pure transaction. I think also on the point of, the first question about, perspective of a woman, agree also with the assessment that like, it's really just like, what is your unique set of skills and that comparative advantage? I mean, just speaking very specifically to the framework that Janett gave, I mean, for myself, I found myself in uniquely in a position where I knew very much the cutting edge technical stuff coming out of generative models, but I also have certain interests in like art and content production that'll basically most of my, admittedly male peers do not. And so does that kind of automatically make it an asset? No, but like it also allows me to address an audience set or create content that probably would not be top of mind for a lot of people. And I think just like recognizing how your unique background can be used in a way that that serves a totally different market and product, like that's how you can, that's how you can kind of think about strategically what is it that you can build that's going to be better, basically.
I just want to ask a generic question. You mentioned like supportive. What do you mean by supportive? I understand the trust, the sincerity.
So the supportive part for me, I mean, of course, everyone has a thesis on networking, but I think that it's really essential in a professional, just as a human being, want to help people because, period. So I often will get things in my inbox or in my LinkedIn. I get a million emails a day. And oftentimes it's somewhere I can do something for them. But if I was thinking about, oh, well, what can they do for me in the current reality I operate in, it may not be much, but there is a reward in being of service and supportive to other people, whether they're higher than you in the pecking order of power or lower. Sometimes I'll have an investor pass me a deal and say, can you diligence this? Or like, can you give me an opinion on this? And I mean, I'm not getting anything from doing that, but I'm happy to help and be supportive and assist a friend or assist a colleague. And I'm not keeping score. I'm choosing to be supportive, obviously with people that I have the same values with or so on. But most of my transactions in my network, I'm not calculating what's coming off the other side of it. And then it's ended up being a very productive, fruitful network because I help people all the time because I want to. So I think that inner generosity is something that may be hard to cultivate when we're looking for something for ourselves. But the best relationships, in my opinion, are built from this position of mutual support, I think. So that's what I meant by that.
Yeah, I think I feel the same, that normally you need to give something, then you can get something back. And if you want to purely take something from someone, then that relationship is fragile. They can flip anytime. Then that would not be necessarily like beneficial to both of you. So just my next question is to Micaela. So I think that you manage a lot of like investment deal sourcing and also like relationships specifically with investors. How do you do that? What do you think that is the most important skill set in terms of like managing deal source and investment relationship?
Well, definitely, you definitely need to have some great time management skills, because I think we all understand that we have our emails overflowing, our calendars are 12 different colors. But in order to maintain your relationship base and to really, have a strong one, you need to have constant communication. No, I'm not saying a weekly 1-hour phone call, but whether it's just a check-in message or a happy birthday text. I think that these are just really important small things that make people really understand and are happy to be part of your network and to continue the conversation with you, which in exchange then provides, oh, hey, I have this deal going on. Do you want to take a look at it? And that therefore increases your pipeline, it increases your exposure, and just leads to a more productive day, a more productive schedule. And in addition to that, of course, you can just have more productive and great companies that you get to interact with on a daily basis.
Do you have an interesting story about like a real case on this? It's quite a, yeah.
In regards to a message that turns into something fruitful, I mean, I'm very appreciative that that actually has happened to me a few times. I have said, you know, a happy Thanksgiving, and about a week later, they're saying, hey, you know what? I have this deal I'm working on, and we actually end up investing within, you know, a month or so of receiving that deal, and it did lead to a fruitful relationship. And of course, you know, at the same time, just a normal, hey, how are you? Or a coffee, obviously pre-COVID. I mean, these in-person face-to-face meetings were extremely important. And now we're figuring out every single day how to make those interactions more sincere and more straightforward than they could have been before.
That's very insightful, very interesting. Yeah, I do think that like keeping daily, not necessarily daily, but weekly certain contact with someone, even though it's very weak message, it's not a very strong, long, overwhelming email, but keeping people reminded that your existence, that could help you. And also sometimes if you are doing some project, you need to keep update people. Then other people may not respond to your email, but they see the progress that they did. They remind, oh, this person is making something. He or she is committed to something. Then that is eventually going to help you. Then this person will like always see you, always watching you, see what happened to you. So my last question to all of you three. So what's your favorite part of your job?
Is it to me first? You're making me answer it first?
Lisha first?
Sure.
Sure. I mean, honestly, I feel super grateful because obviously being an entrepreneur, lots of ups and downs. Everyone knows that here. But the fact that I'm being able to productize tech where you can generate creative output, I'm thinking through the UX and talking to users on how to like amplify it's just super cool. And I really thrive in it. And I also get to create content myself. So I don't know, it keeps me working, but it doesn't really feel like work.
And that is because you're doing something you really like.
Yeah. So I feel pretty grateful for that.
How about Janett?
In my current capacity as chief of staff, I spend a lot of time with the executive team that makes a lot of these decisions. And my favorite part of the job has been finding in ways to improve people's internal processes for success. So for example, everyone has a set of strengths and weaknesses that are unique to them. And when you're supporting executives or co-leading with executives, understanding where they're running into challenges and building systems that can kind of compensate around it to lead to better results is probably the most fun part of my job. The problem solving, like the people problem solving, is a lot of fun for me. To your point around time management and calendar management or relationship management, which is a really big thing in investment, finding intuitive ways to make sure we don't drop the ball because on the other side of that email is a person, that's a lot of fun for me. So yeah, process management.
Micaela?
I would definitely say it's meeting founders of companies that are just so intelligent, really have such a vision, and being able to continuously have that as part of my daily job and part of my career is just so meaningful to me, because meeting other people that have these visions that I didn't even think could exist or how to improve someone's life is great. And I also get to learn so much from them every single day. So I think that definitely is my favorite part of my job. And also, of course, being able to have the funds and have the capacity as well as the knowledge to help them succeed. And I think that that's really a great part of my position, and I can't wait to continue to do it.
Yeah, I remember I checked on your company's profile. Figured that you guys are doing a lot of social activism and things around that. Can you tell us more about it?
Absolutely. So actually during COVID, we decided that we would utilize our global relationships to help source and also at the best price possible provide personal protective equipment, PPE. And so we ended up doing that. And through that company called Code One, we decided to start a USA made hand sanitizer company called H21. So H2O is to be essential like water, and one is one human family. So that's where the name came from. And we realized, people were searching for hand sanitizer, couldn't find it. There was methanol in a lot of it, a toxic chemical. I think we've all tried those hand sanitizers that smell like tequila and vodka. Who wants that on our hands or on our children's hands? So we embarked on this process to create this hand sanitizer that's extremely clean. And for every bottle purchased on e-commerce, we give one away to a community in need. And that has been extremely fruitful and meaningful in my entire company. And we have been doing this extremely, from the bottom up. And if you want to check it out, it's on Instagram, it's at H21Cared. And we are just really excited about it. So that's our social activism at the moment, corporate responsibility.
That's amazing, because I think that a lot of venture capital and private equity, they are trying to contribute back to the community by providing resources and a lot of support, and in that chance that they can develop their brand so that they can get better deal source, better investment relationship, and that is a win-win situation all the time. For all the audience, all these three amazing women, that they all come from the Fyli community. As I mentioned, that we are very honored to co-organize this event with Fyli, who are very dedicated to provide resources to all the women leadership and professional development. And I want to invite Jacqueline and Summer, the founder of Fyli, to give us a closing note. And after that, we are going to get into the Q&A section and also the networking section. And you will be sending into different kind of breakout room to have a personal talk with Lisha, Janett, and Micaela as you want.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tiffany. This was such a wonderful discussion, and big shout out to our ladies and our community members who were speaking tonight on this panel. And for those of you whose first time it is hearing about Fylí, Fylí stands for tribe in Greek. We are a mastermind community, which is a peer-to-peer mentorship and accountability group. My business partner, Summer, and I launched Fylí a little bit over 1.5 years ago out of our own personal need during our female entrepreneurship journeys to be able to have support, scale, growth, accountability, networking, and resources available at our fingertips. So we have a very big special surprise in store for everyone that's here on this call today, as we'd love to welcome you into our community as well. And I'm going to pass it over to my co-founder, Summer.
Yes. So first of all, I want to thank Tiffany and the PEVCC Club. Thank you for the amazing organization. So if we have time, we would love to learn more each about you. And for Fyli, it's a leadership group organization coupled with action. So when we have our women here, Janett, Micaela, and we have our friends of Fyli, Lisha Li here, so we don't only care about their professional and career advancements, we also care about their mental health, physical well-being, and spiritual growth. So when you look at Fyli, it's more like a family. It's like sisterhood and friendships. So when we work together, that's why we have all of the laughters, we have banters, we can talk about personal things. So that's why we have a tagline, it's called Together We Rise, because you need to rise in different aspects in your life, and women support women. That's what we differentiated Fyli. And that's why we grow so fast. Within 1.5 years, we launched 2 cohorts. And within 1.5 years, we collaborated with the companies such as Google, Lyft, SAP, WW, mainly like the most amazing of the companies in the world. So we would love to invite you to get to know us, and we're so excited to get to know more of you. And please join us. So Maya just dropped the code for them, Fyli, for you to just try 3 months Fyli Tribe membership. And for Micaela and Janett, their membership is mastermind. So it's like the more advanced membership. We have 80% female founders and 20% corporate executives. So if you are ever interested in the mastermind membership, please feel to apply. After you apply, we'll get an interview and we will get to know you better. So thank you again. Thank you so much, Tiffany. Thank you for making it happen. And we will see you at our breakout rooms.
Yeah, I really love Fyli, the program, because not only provide professional support, but also like mental and healthy advice. And sometimes during this COVID time, I just feel so stressed, and I talked to Summer, then I got some relief because she just like send me some Fyli event and do some workout. Yeah, it helps. I'll say that. And I also want to right now, I want to open the floor to all the audience to asking questions. And if you have questions, please right now send to the chat box, and I will address it to all the to the speaker. If there's no question, I'll just ask one. So yeah, so just since we are talking about COVID, I just want to know how COVID affects your work so far.
Oh, I'd love to take this. I'll go first. This is a fun question. So as I said, this company, when we started towards the end of 2019, founded, funded before the year started. And our CEO really wanted the entire team to be based in New York, relocation mandatory for all of our amazing PhDs and scientists and venture directors that were joining our company. January happens, we sign a lease for an office, and then February happens, and like suddenly everyone's home. So ramping up a company remote has been really interesting, and it actually really, I think in the end, strengthened our operations, because communication has to be 110%. Process has to be 110%. The casualness that often happens in offices, where we're dependent on not repeatable, scalable, transparent things, was really put under pressure for COVID. So we went from having 5 employees to growing to over 20 all around the world this year. And it's amusing to me to think about that I haven't met most of my team that I see every day on Zoom calls. Another interesting thing, just very quickly, because I have a lot of opinions about this topic, is I would say the humanness that we're exposed to, seeing people in their homes. At least for me, I've felt that our culture has developed an appropriate level of familiarity that's really nice, because you remember that the person you deal with every day maybe has a kid or a dog or a cat or likes ferns, and all of these things that reminds us in our very busy, serious jobs, we're all human, especially in highly competitive fields like investment. I think that's been very good to see that and kind of commiserate over this pandemic together. So building a company in isolation has been interesting, but overall it's made us very process strong.
How about Lisha?
I share some of the enthusiasm for sure for the remote, kind of a lot of the process things I'm learning from running a remote company. Before COVID happened, I already kind of made a decision to make this remote, and our team is small. It's under 5. There's various full-time and contract workers that put it above 5 people, but it's really efficient. And I also, one heartening thing I'm observing is so recently I was in the Y-Combinator batch, and I'm seeing the new ones, because they're running remote demo day, I feel like that almost makes the opportunity even more accessible for founders who don't want to relocate to the Valley. And I'm really curious to see what the data is after COVID in terms of kind of making more distributed the startup community there. Because I think there's obviously a clear strength in the momentum of being in the Bay Area, but with that said, it's COVID's really pushed that conversation much closer into how soon do we have much more distributed centers of tech innovation. So it's pretty
Do you
exciting.
think that after COVID, that it's necessary for your team to spend time all together in an office, or you're just going to keep this remote like operation going on?
Yeah, so I mean, even before COVID, I was running a distributed team. So I think we'll keep it that way. I mean, one nice thing is our lead investors have also invested in some pretty great examples of very successful distributed teams. They're like GitLab, for instance, is like a growth stage company that's done phenomenally well as fully distributed. So there was no like convincing we had to do on the part of like distributed can be very successful. And also just looking at some YC companies about year or a couple of stages above us, we're seeing a lot of examples of like very successful, but like fully distributed teams. So I'm pretty excited about this trend.
I love Janett's comment on the chat box. Yeah, you're traveling, but not for work.
I've traveled for work, that's for sure.
So do you still go to office right now?
Currently, I am pretty much remote. However, I have had to travel. I go to California very often because our Code 1 H21 hand sanitizer operations are there. So I've been in LA actually was there for a month and a half, which I've never lived there for that long, but it was an experience. And I also actually had to go to London as well because we have a consultancy with the FIFA World Cup in 2022 in Qatar. So we had to meet with the heads of state there and, continue to communicate because yes, of course, we have a global pandemic, but of course, certain obligations need to go on.
Yeah. We have a question in the chat box.
I see a question in the chat box. I'd love to. Oh, yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, I'll just answer it. I need to answer it with my perspective quickly. I think one, the lead time to getting to know someone is expanded. And two, I think the best investors recognize that not everyone communicates or represents themselves effectively in the same media format. So when we're meeting a team and diligencing them, we'll offer Zoom, phone call, communication over email. We'll do all three, but let them pitch in the format that makes them feel the most comfortable initially, because being on camera is not the most natural thing, especially for highly technical founders. So from a judgment perspective as well, especially when we're recruiting talent or determining if this is the right founder, not being too critical in our first judgment with this media format, because it doesn't suit everyone. And if we see that a founder prefers communicating over email or over phone, being flexible to really give them the space to show themselves. Any special criteria you're looking for under COVID, communication is major. Back when you could just fly and drop in on a team, if they're a little less communicative, it can be sorted out, but now that's not the thing. Communication, I think, is probably the number one thing we look for in founders now.
Definitely. I truly feel you, because before, like Zoom meeting is nice, efficient, but sometimes it's just cut a little bit like human contact, and the way that you are going to deliver your message is quite different. And I think a lot of like entrepreneurs, they adopt the Zoom way to present their business. But anyway, we need to adopt. It's like you don't need to be the strongest, but you need to be the fast adopted one to be a survival. For next 10 minutes, we are going to we are going to send each of you to the breakout room, and you are able to choose the speaker that you want to have a personal talk with. And let me know if there's anything not, let me know there's any technical issue. So right now I'm opening the breakout room, and you are able to see the pop-up on your laptop, and you can join the one that you want to. So if there's anyone who hasn't been assigned, do you want to me just assign you guys to? So we have 3 breakout rooms. One is with Micaela, one is with Janett, one is with Lisha, and the other one is Fylí. So if you want to know more about Fyli's program, you can go to the last breakout room to have a personal talk. For those one who maybe encounter some technical issue to join the breakout room, let me know. I can like assign you to it. Or just let me know which one. Lisha, Annie, Lisha. Sure. Christina, do you want to join any breakout room?
I'll join Janett's.
Sure. Bess, do you want to join anyone? Kate?
Can you help me to the Lisha one?
Sure.
Thank you.
You are Legion. Sure, Lisha. Then Bess, do you want to join anyone? Lou?
Hello, can you help me locate to the Lisha?
Sure.
Thank you.
Pars, do you want to join anyone? Okay. Elizabeth, hello. Hi. Everyone's coming back. Hey, Summer, how is your session?
Hello. Thank you so much, Tiffany.
Hi. I think other people are so still want to make use of those seconds to talk with all the speakers.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. I think that's great. That's a good indication that they're all connected.
Yes.
Welcome back.
I made sure each guest at Lisha's room got a chance to ask Lisha's questions. So I picked one by one as like they all
You're a good moderator than me.
they love Lisha so much and they enjoy like asking Lisha very customized questions. And Lisha was amazing at answering the questions. Did you have fun?
Yeah, no, thank you for pulling me in. Oh, there's everyone. Yeah.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, everyone.
So good to see everyone back. Oh my God, I wish we could talk to each of you individually. Did you, I was going to say, did you ladies get used to it? Did you have a good time with the speakers? Let me know if you didn't. I will talk to the girls. Janett, did you answer your questions? Micaela, did you have time to answer questions? Okay.
Everyone is gradually coming back. So I hope everyone enjoyed their talk with all the speakers, and we will send out the follow-up email with all their linking. If you want to get connected and further your talk, you have the right to do so. And thank you everyone for tuning in for our amazing event today. And thank you, Fyli, to co-host this event with us. And also thank you, Fordham Financial Society, Women in Business, and Ascend to co-host and co-promote this event with us. We are looking forward to see you in our future event, and please follow our linking Instagram and everything so that you wouldn't miss out our news and the future plan.
Thank you so much. And just really quickly, I wanted to add my co-founder Summer just dropped in our very special code, Fordham Fyli. The link is there. You can simply register, create an account for Fyli for our tribe community for free. You have access for 3 months. That's up to 6 virtual workshops per month. Amazing education, training, networking, group coaching, a fabulous way to connect with other female entrepreneurs and leaders during this time virtually. So we hope to see you at our events. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful night and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Yes, thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, PEVCC.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Oh, for the time. It was great to speak with you.
Thank you for having me.
Guys were amazing.
Nice to talk to you.
Thank you for being a part of
Thank
it.
you, Janett, to Lisha, our friends of Fyli.
Oh,
Maya and Patricia, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
the
guys.
amazing panel. We had a great time and a great turnout. I feel it was very good. Thank you.
for sure.
About the hiking thing, Fyli,
No,
so
Fyli,
you-
Summer.
I don't want to forget it. I don't want to forget it.
Fyli is my official secondary English name.
Your middle name, I know.
Summers.
Yeah, Maya, I'm gonna give you my email. So if you can send me the hiking information, that would be great. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna
Thank
hop.
you,
I have
guys.
another call, but it was great to spend the evening with you. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
everyone. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you so
Bye.
much. Bye. Bye.